Hello, everybody.
I'm Harry Harcrow.
I'm Braeden Turner, and welcome back to another episode of the Prosperity Project. Welcome back, Harry.
Thank you. Yeah, I was on episode 1. It's been a little bit.
It's been a little bit, but Harry is back, and he's definitely ready to host some more podcast episodes. So today we're going to jump into the topic of stress management. We know with finals coming up, everything can be a bit stressful, and we just want to dive into some ways that can possibly help ease your stress, and what causes stress, what stress is defined as, and anything else related to stress. So,
Yeah.
So, Harry, what do you think is the definition of stress in your own terms?
I think stress kind of varies from person to person, but for me, I guess sometimes I kind of picture like this monster almost
Okay.
over, like kind of like overwhelming me
Yeah.
and stuff like that, right? And like, pushing me down, right? It's kind of just like the feelings of almost too much.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I think that's kind of fair. I don't know. I like not my terms like not a monster, but I almost like it almost feels like something is like pressing down on me. Like it's like a physical pressure, and it's just from an overload of different stimulants, whether it be like homework or family life or anything. And I think specifically for me, it causes me to not be able to focus or lose my temper with someone. So that's kind of what I define stress as. But the actual definition for stress, according to the World Health Organization, is stress can be defined as any type of change that causes physical, emotional, or psychological strain. Stress is your body's response to anything that requires attention or action. So based off that definition, it kind of sounds like stress can be considered good or bad.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a natural reaction almost. And there's obviously we've all gone through times where it gets too much, but there's like times when it's kind of like your limit, right?
Yeah. And I mean that makes sense because it's like in certain situations like you want to be stressed, like this stress kind of causes you to like take action. So yeah, if you're like behind on homework, obviously it might not feel good, but like there's a good amount of stress there. But for the purpose of this episode of the Prosperity Project, and with finals coming up, like I said, we are going to focus mainly on negative stress and how to manage it. So when I say negative stress, it's kind of hard to differentiate between positive stress and negative stress because different perceptions of what it could be. But we're just going to talk about kind of like the stress that comes with schoolwork or family life that kind of puts you in like a bad mood or a bad mental state, and how to manage that.
Yeah. I think Braeden and I both have a lot of stress in our lives, from classes, of course, and then also extracurriculars in themselves.
Yeah. So, we're just going to dive into some ways that can possibly help that. One thing I wanted to talk about is actually the popular sources of stress for teenagers and where these mainly come from. So the first one, like we kind of said before, high school demands and expectations. I think that's pretty obvious. Like that's where most teenagers get their stress from. I mean, you can totally relate to that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the biggest ones.
And then another one, this is kind of a little bit more broad, but negative thoughts about oneself that can actually just bring stress. Because if you keep telling yourself stuff about yourself, then you're going to start to believe that no matter if it's true or false, okay? And so that can bring about stress and bring about thoughts that you need to be better and that you're not living up to these expectations that you've put upon yourself.
Yeah, I definitely think that one also kind of applies to like a lot of the others, like negative thoughts about yourself regarding stuff.
Yeah.
Like the demands and.
Another one is problems with friends, peers, or even family members. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. I mean, sometimes getting along with people is hard. But I mean, it's just because you want to maintain as healthy of relationships as possible. And not being able to do that or taking time away from anything else just to focus on that can bring about a lot of stress.
Yeah, and I think also like playing into that is some of the problems are caused by like you not taking care of yourself, and a lot of people tend to worry about their friends and family more than they care about themselves, right? And it does impact these relationships.
Yeah, that's a good point. Another one, this is not, hopefully this hasn't happened to a lot of people, but death in the family, especially as a teenager, especially if it's as like a parental figure or, just a figure that you admire in your life. That could be hard, especially as a role model, and you admire them and you love them. That's kind of hard. So that's going to just add on more stress. Another one is consistently moving or not having a stable household. Now, I've actually never moved, but my dad has, and a lot of my friends have, and they've told me about it and how it's really hard because, especially like developing relationships with people and then knowing that those won't last because you're going to have to move again. I've heard that's caused a lot of stress on people.
Yeah, no, and I also think it's kind of, like, I've also never moved, but it's also kind of like figurative, like, moving from middle school to high school and then high school to college and stuff like that, and then even moving classes throughout the semester and stuff, you can break away from these people that you've gotten really close to, right? And it's important to reach out to people and to stay secure with your friend groups, even if you may not share the same location or classes.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed this year is that, like, I see people that I was super close with last year because we had classes, and then, like, I moved to another class or a different schedule. So not actually even moving houses. But, yeah, that's just kind of caused me to be like, oh, man, like, I should, like, reach out to them, see how they're doing, So that's a really good point. And then finally, this is also another one I think a lot of us can relate to, just taking on too many activities or extracurriculars. I think with the common stereotype with college nowadays is the most well-rounded student will get in. So a lot of us are taking on as much as we can, whether we enjoy it or not. And especially doing stuff that we don't enjoy is just going to cause more stress. So,
yeah.
And also just performing at a high level as well in a lot of these activities, extracurricular sports, whatever it may be. So yeah, that's another common popular source of stress. So I think for me, the most popular sources of stress are definitely just high school demands, expectations, and then taking on too many activities or extracurriculars. I think I've always had this thought of like, oh, am I doing enough? Am I performing at a high enough level? And it's weird because people have always told me, like, no matter who it is, they're like, you're doing enough, like, we're proud of you, and I'm still like, I keep telling myself, like, am I really doing enough? And it's just like an endless stress. And so, I think that's just the biggest source of stress for me, and it still happens to this day. But I've learned ways to manage it, and we'll dive into that in a bit. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. I think some of mine are definitely the high school demands, and then you also tied into the negative thoughts about yourself and stuff. And I think that, pretty much everyone at our age, and even like in life, just struggles with that. And it's just something to know that, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Right, and that everyone is going through something like that. Yeah, and then I think I also have a lot of problems with friends and stuff. Not necessarily like, physical, like we're mad at each other or something happened, but just stuff where it's like, I'm scared to lose them and stuff like that. I want to be there for them, and I feel bad when I can't.
Yeah. So according to Mayo Clinic, some proven ways to reduce stress include doing a physical activity. I know I can relate to this. Whether it be just going on a walk or going to the gym or, spending time with friends outside. Like, I think just getting, like, that breath of fresh air. I don't know what it is. I should probably do some research on it, but there's literally something about going outside and just, like, feeling sunlight.
No, I think walks are, like, a really good way. Especially since they're, it's really easy. You don't got to, like, really change clothes or anything. Just go take, like, a 5-10 minute walk.
Yeah.
Right, and come back and you'll be doing better.
Yeah, and a lot of us that do sports, it's like a stressful environment, but sometimes just going out and just playing sport like by yourself, stress-free, and just kind of trying to enjoy the activity instead of worrying about performing at a super high level. That's another way that I reduce stress is I go and play soccer by myself or with some friends. So. Another one is listening to music. I think this is pretty common, and you can't. And not everyone enjoys music, so these can't apply to everyone. Just as not all these will apply to everyone, but finding a genre of music you enjoy. Specifically for me, when I'm doing homework, I like to turn on like lo-fi beats or just something relaxing, and put my phone far away, and then just like focusing on what I'm doing, and or just listen to music when I'm not doing anything. And it kind of, I don't know, it just like eases everything.
Yeah, no, I actually, like you mentioned, like lo-fi beats and kind of calming music. I'm actually personally the opposite.
Oh, really?
I kind of like, I don't like music, like rap or something where there's like a lot of stuff going on in the
Okay.
background. I also like classical music, but like some like the intense ones,
Okay.
you know, where there's like 20 different instruments at once. I don't know, just something about like just like so much happening. It kind of
Yeah.
like calms me.
Okay. Does it like, in what context? Does it like pump you up for like doing homework and that like, and once you're done with homework, you're relieved from stress, or is it just like,
I don't know.
do you know?
Yeah, no. So I think it's like right with stress. I get I don't know how this applies to other people, but I get like kind of anxious, right? And I like start breathing heavy, and there's just like I'm like, oh, there's so many stuff I have to get done. I have to do this homework assignment. I have to do this thing. I have this club, right? And there's just so many thoughts in my brain that kind of then like with the music just like exploding, it kind of like settles the thoughts almost. Right? So I'm like, okay, let's do this. Then we can work on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
Kind of almost. Since there's madness in my head, then having the madness like outside kind of organizes my head.
That's fair enough. Another one is just to laugh more, and this kind of comes with like spending time with friends, like I said before, through the physical activity, or even animals. I mean, I myself have 2 dogs, both black labs, and anytime I'm feeling stressed or something, I'll go out and play fetch with them, or I'll just lay down with them and just like think about nothing, because just spending some time away from whatever's making me stressed, whether it be a relationship with my parents, we're fighting, or homework or soccer or anything like that, just spending time away from that and towards stuff that makes you laugh and feel good is always.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like whether it's even, just like a TV show or something for like 10 minutes or whatever, or if you like want to FaceTime your friends for like 30 minutes while you're doing homework, it's a good stress reliever.
The next one is actually super duper important, and I'm sure almost all of us know this, but it's to sleep 8+ hours a night. I think it's kind of
a little difficult.
A little difficult sometimes, especially with homework. But I think the biggest thing, and I'm gonna dive into this in the next idea, but it's kind of just make a plan and then say, okay, I'm gonna go to bed at this time, and then follow it no matter what. And if it comes at the cost of reaching out to your teacher and being like, hey, I had all these activities, or I had this much homework and I really couldn't get this homework done tonight, I guarantee you your teacher will understand. I've done it multiple times this year because I've realized I can't get something done, and I've reached out and they've been more than okay and understood. So I think prioritizing your sleep and waking up well rested is incredibly important.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, I've heard taking naps even. Like, if you just, when you get home from school, take like a 20, 40-minute nap or whatever. Is a good rejuvenation.
Yeah, I used to do that. Like, our past season for soccer, I'd come home and I'd take like a 30-minute nap because I was very stressed about the upcoming game. That was at like 7. So I'd come and I'd sleep for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and I'd wake up and I felt like much more relaxed and I could just focus in on a game, but without any worry. So, like I said, the next topic was like to keep a journal or to write down your to-dos or your to-do list so you can visually see what you need to do. This is basically like my go-to. I have a whiteboard in my room, so I write down everything that I know I need to do. And just being able to see everything laid out relieves a lot of stress because, like Harry said, it's kind of like jumbled in your brain, and you can't really organize your own thoughts sometimes, and so you think there's a lot more than there actually is. So just writing it down, and then once you get it done, immediately cross it off so you don't even have to worry about it anymore. That physical action of actually crossing it off allows your brain to get rid of the thought. So that's something I do, and I found it to be very effective. And it doesn't even have to be homework. It can be like, spend time with friends or go on a walk. It doesn't even have to be like any assignments. It can just be like stuff you think you should do in that day.
Yeah, and there's definitely like different methods. Like, I know people, like Braeden said he has a whiteboard in his room. I know people who have planners, right? You can get like a colorful planner.
Yeah.
There's apps you can get. I know people who have apps, right? And there's just so many different ways to, do each of these options and characterize it to you.
Exactly. Another one is called, it's developing assertiveness training skills. So this sounds kind of strange, but essentially it's just the idea of being able to communicate how you feel. So obviously that takes some assertion, and it's scary because like a lot of times when I'm stressed, I'll get impatient with people, and then they won't understand what's going on. And I don't really want to open up, and I'll be like, hey, I'm stressed. I have all this to do. How can you help? I'll kind of just close off because I haven't really developed those assertiveness skills. But I've got better at telling my parents, hey, I'm feeling really stressed, so that when I get impatient or I'm not really concentrated on much else, they can understand that and they can be there for me. So just knowing that other people can be there and talking to them and having that support for when you are stressed reduces stress in itself.
Yeah, I would say that this one might be one of the hardest stress relievers we've listed so far. Being assertive like that is definitely difficult. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, even for me. I'm known as like an open guy, right? Yeah. But sometimes, asserting your stress, right, and if you're feeling sad and stuff like that, is really difficult, right? And so that kind of goes in the next one, that consulting with someone, right, is that you should find people that you trust, and whether that is like a counselor, right, or a therapist, or if it's just like your best friend, right? Yeah. There are people out there who love you, and there are people who understand, right? And so you just have to find those people, and yeah.
Yeah, like Harry said, seeking counseling or therapy, and just talking to someone and knowing that there's someone for you to like fall back on when you're feeling stressed, for someone to reach out to, and having a professional counselor, a professional therapist that is trained for these situations to help you there. It's just a nice cushion for you to always go back on. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, with all this said, obviously, it can be assumed that all humans, especially teenagers, react to stress in very different ways. Like you saw there, I listen to relaxing music when I'm stressed, and Harry likes to listen to crazy music. So there's no single way to eliminate stress. But we hope that you just understand that there's different methods, and something will work for some people. The stuff I said before, some of it doesn't work for me, and some of it does. And the best thing you can do is just try, because there is stuff out there that will reduce stress. And like I said, the most effective for me is to write stuff down.
Yeah, and so, if you're feeling stressed and, you feel like you're trying these options and nothing's working, just reach out to people. Because, like I said, there are people out there who know what you're going through, right? And if I'm being honest, this is one of the hardest times in our life, being teenagers. It gets better. And I know it's such a cliche, but it literally does. Like this, just with the scientific of it, like the hormones and everything, and then just, where we are in society and stuff, this will be. Yeah,
and I mean, I've talked to my siblings who went through the same thing, and they've even passed college now, and they're like, yeah, you're at a point where like stress is at a maximum, and you're just like overloaded, and oftentimes you don't know what to do. But just finding those resources that you can go to and having something to fall back on is a good way to get through it. So
yeah, and there are people at the school you can talk to, right? Like Mrs. Sell, Mrs. O'Connor, and any of the counselors that we have here, right? And then even I know there are definitely teachers that, like, if you have a strong relationship with a teacher, they do care, and they will want to hear about it. Like Braeden said, he's asked for extensions on assignments because of how stressed he's been and stuff. And there are teachers that you can reach out to.
So before we end our podcast, we obviously want to dive into some resources that you guys can go to if you need help, whether it just be from stress or your mental health is not in a good state right now, or any other problems. So some local resources. One is the Pikes Peak Suicide Prevention Program. It's a community in the Pikes Peak region oriented towards spreading awareness of mental health and suicide prevention through resources, events, and training like QPR, which is Question, Persuade, and Refer. They also have a teen advocacy board if you want to join. And if you want to join, feel free to reach out to Mrs. Sell or go on their website. Another one is So Coalition, which is another community in the Tri-Lakes area partnered with Pikes Peak Suicide Prevention, also oriented towards teenage mental health and suicide prevention. If you want to get involved with them as well, reach out to Miss O'Connor or Mrs. Sell, and they're just a great resource.
We also have the National Alliance on Mental Illness for Colorado Springs chapter. They offer several programs regarding improving mental health, and they have plenty of resources to go during a mental health crisis. And then Colorado Crisis Services offers immediate help to issues regarding substance abuse, sexual identity issues, and depression, anxiety, as well as lots of others.
And then Finally, Lewis Palmer School District Counseling page. You can find that on the website. It's just a great directory source to find extensive resources from local to national scales. So they cover a lot of different needs and a lot of different problems. So if you're struggling to find a resource, I would recommend you go there because they cover a lot of different topics. And then finally, a broader resource. Hopefully, this is well known by now. But the National Crisis Hotline or Suicide Prevention Hotline, which is 988, you will get immediate online support from trained professional for absolutely any problem you need. So if you are in a very bad state, please feel free to reach out to them. Thank you so much for listening to Prosperity Project. Thank you, Harry, for another episode. It was amazing. Again, we have our Google survey. You can find that on the Lewis Palmer School District website. You can find that on our Instagram and any other resources that we have posted. But
yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you for having me. I hope to be on soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Peace.